Without question, the iPad Mini 6 has been the best iPad you can buy for iPad things, and it's about to get even better with the iPad Mini 7, which I believe is coming as soon as next month. I'll explain my reasoning in this video, but first, I've got to go through 5 new changes you should expect. Number 1. Chip performance. The first and most obvious change is going to be the upgrade to a new chip, boosting performance even further for the latest and greatest games and apps. Yes, the iPad Mini 6 is already impressive for many high-end games like Call of Duty, Genshin Impact, League of Legends, and more. However, the additional performance will allow for solid 60 FPS gameplay with maxed out settings while using less of the chip's power, resulting in cooler temperatures. As for the chip in the iPad Mini 7, it's likely to be either the A16 or the upcoming A17, built on TSMC's new 3nm chip technology. One reason for doubting the A17 is its relatively low chip yield due to the new 3nm process. Apple might prioritize the iPhone 15 Pro models initially. Despite that, iPad mini sales aren't particularly high, especially since Apple's latest earnings indicate weaker iPad sales. This trend may continue into the next quarter. Therefore, even if the A17 is used, the potential issue of low chip yield might not be significant. Another compelling reason for Apple to opt for the A17 chip is that when the iPad Mini 6 was released in 2021, it featured the same A15 chip as the new iPhone 13 series, which launched concurrently. It's reasonable to assume they'll follow a similar approach this year with the iPad Mini 7, aiming to encourage upgrades. If the iPad Mini 7 does launch this year, and in the unlikely event it gets delayed until the following year, it will almost certainly feature the A17 chip. Beyond the general benefits for apps and gaming, the enhanced performance will also make the new Mini more capable for performance-related tasks such as video editing. This is particularly true since the new A17 chip is expected to include a redesigned GPU with potential hardware ray tracing support and newer encoders. Number 2. Battery life. And now, let's move on to change number 2, which is battery life. With the new A17 chip, we should expect that the battery life will improve. This improvement is due to the significant leap from the current 5nm A15 chip technology to the brand new 3nm technology in the A17. This means that the transistor density is more densely packed, resulting in better performance per watt, lower battery consumption, and cooler operation. As for whether Apple will introduce better battery technology or larger physical batteries, it's hard to tell because the Mini's size is already so limited. However, this new chip should help improve everyday battery life regardless. Number 3. Display. And now, moving on to change number 3. Apple is hopefully going to fix the display refresh rate issues that are happening with the current iPad Mini 6. These issues have been causing jelly scrolling problems, which many reviewers have pointed out. It was actually one of the main reasons some people chose not to upgrade to the Mini 6 and instead opted for other iPads, as it has been quite annoying for a number of users. Personally, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Hopefully, Apple will pay some attention to this issue and address it this time around. Honestly, even with the jelly scrolling problems, everything else was just so good for reviewers, especially with the new smaller, more compact size, the redesign with USB-C, Apple II Pencil support, wireless charging, and more. It's just been very impressive. Regardless of the display technology, what if Apple takes it a step further and finally adds 120Hz ProMotion support? This would be incredibly well received, although it's unlikely since that's a major reason why people chose the iPad Pro. However, I do expect Apple to eventually bring the 120Hz feature to the lower-end iPad Air and then to the iPad Mini, especially if the upgrade promotion on the iPad Pros goes even higher, like 240Hz, as was rumored in the past. In February of 2021, Apple actually won a patent that would allow for variable refresh rates of up to 180 to 240Hz. Therefore, Apple could easily introduce these upgrades on the iPad Pro models first, and then offer a regular 120Hz on the lower-end iPads. Number 4. Camera updates. And now moving on to change number 4. We should certainly expect camera upgrades both on the front and the back. Regarding the front camera, the new horizontally placed landscape selfie camera with the center stage feature should be included. Apple is highly likely to introduce this feature and the landscape mod to the entire iPad lineup, especially since they have already incorporated it into the budget iPad. Therefore, it would make sense to extend it across the entire lineup to enhance the new look and feature. This adjustment is particularly beneficial for FaceTime video, providing a much improved experience. Shifting to the rear camera, anticipated additions encompass features such as ProRes video, audio zoom, stereo audio recording, portrait mode, portrait lighting support, and other novel camera upgrades. Number 5. Update Wi-Fi. And now, wrapping up with change number 5 before delving into the release date discussions. We are likely to see updated Wi-Fi specifications, such as the latest 556E and probably Bluetooth 5.3 as well. Additionally, we might expect some new minor features like the Apple Pencil hover feature that the iPad Pro recently received. There could also be other enhancements related to the Pencil or smaller upgrades in various areas. For instance, a more efficient 5G modem is probable for these lower-end iPad models. Number 6. Release date. Now let's delve into the discussion about the release date and why I believe it could arrive as soon as next month. Recently, Mark Gurman mentioned the possibility of minor spec upgrades for the regular iPad Air and iPad mini later this year. Additionally, the reputable Apple analyst, Shrimp Apple Pro, stated that Apple is actively working on the iPad mini 7 and might launch it as early as this year. However, we also have Ming-Chi Kuo, who anticipates that mass production of the Mini 7 will commence in the first quarter of 2024. Nonetheless, here's my concern. The new iPad Pro models are currently rumored to debut in the spring of 2024, precisely a year and a half after the most recent iPad Pro release. This aligns with the typical cycle of around 1.5 years. Consequently, Apple aims to draw significant attention exclusively to the iPad Pro during the spring. Historically, Apple upgrades the iPad Pros on a distinct timeline from the rest of the iPad lineup to ensure maximum focus on the Pro models. Given that the Pro models are slated for a spring 2024 launch, it makes perfect sense to upgrade both the iPad Air and the iPad mini in the fall. This strategy is consistent with Apple's pattern, as the iPad Air has been receiving updates every 1.5 years, with the last 2 updates following a different cycle than the iPad Pros. Thus, a fall upgrade is fitting, precisely a year and a half after the release of the iPad Air 5. Moreover, the upcoming iPad Pros, set to be released next spring, are expected to feature a groundbreaking OLED display technology. Consequently, it would be logical for the spec-enhanced iPad Air 6 and Mini 7, even without OLED displays, to receive updates now. It's highly likely that transition to the OLED displays shortly after the OLED iPad Pros are launched. Recent leaks have also indicated that Apple plans to reduce iPad bezel sizes, mirroring their approach with the iPhone 15 Pro models. This transformation is likely to commence with the introduction of the new OLED display models in the near future. Additionally, we are anticipating the release of the M3 chip, with the first M3 Max possibly arriving as soon as October. However, a complication arises, as the iPad Air 6 is projected to incorporate the M2 chip. Therefore, an update for the iPad Air 6 is imperative before the M3's anticipated unveiling on September 2022. It's noteworthy that Apple simultaneously released both the iPad mini 5 and the iPad Air 3 in 2019. Considering this precedent, it's plausible that they might adopt a similar approach again this September. This aligns well with the current leaks and speculations. So there you have it, these were my revised thoughts on the potential release date for the iPad mini 7. Hopefully, you enjoyed this video, and if you did, let me know down in the comment section below, and subscribe up there, and definitely check out one of those 2 videos right over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.